Welcome to Inside Insights, your quick hit of tips, tools, and trends for manufacturing, distribution, and Dynamics 365 Business Central. Brought to you by InsightWorks.
You know, it's actually wild to think about a modern factory floor today. Like, a production manager can usually track this tiny 10-cent microchip down to the exact second it moves through assembly.
Right, they have total visibility on the product itself.
Exactly, but then the million-dollar machine that's actually placing that microchip, no one on the floor actually knows its drive belt is about to snap until the entire factory suddenly just grinds to a halt.
Yeah, it's a massive, massive blind spot for a lot of operations.
It really is. So welcome to the Deep Dive. We are exploring the hidden disconnects in modern manufacturing today. And our mission is to unpack excerpts from a really fascinating document titled Bridging the Gap, Data-Driven Maintenance for Business Central.
It's a great read.
Yeah, and the goal for you listening today is to discover how, operations are trying to eliminate this dangerous guesswork of equipment maintenance, and really how they're attempting to bridge the gap between production data and service schedules.
It is a striking contradiction to start with. Because it perfectly captures this deeply embedded anxiety in industrial operations right now. You have these exact specifications from the manufacturer, right?
Right, like the manual says, do this now.
Exactly. Say, an oil change is required every 10,000 cycles. But you totally lack the immediate reality of where the machine currently stands in that life cycle. And right up front, analyzing this text, we have to establish a crucial shift in perspective.
Okay, what kind of shift?
Well, the core issue on these factory floors is not a lack of information. The information is there. The core issue is a lack of connection.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because to solve a maintenance problem of this scale, we really first have to understand where the current system is breaking down, right?
Definitely. You have to diagnose it first.
Right. So we need to move from that overarching concept of the 10,000 cycles down to the specific point of failure on the floor. And to do that, I actually want to use a biological analogy.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
So the way these factories are operating right now, it is like having a brain that tells your hand to lift a heavy weight. But that brain has absolutely no nervous system connection to feel that the muscle in the arm is slowly tearing.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
Right. The production side is the brain giving the orders, but the maintenance side has, no sensory input at all.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. The source lays out an incredibly frustrating reality regarding how that sensory input is actually gathered today. To figure out when a machine hits a maintenance threshold, someone like an actual human being has to physically walk over to the equipment.
With a clipboard, usually.
Literally with a clipboard. They have to check a paper log, read an analog meter, or simply, remember to write down a number after an exhausting 12-hour shift.
Which is just asking for trouble.
Completely. It relies entirely on human memory and manual repetition in environments where, frankly, people are already stretched incredibly thin.
It is exactly like trying to maintain your personal car, but instead of the car's computer tracking the mileage and automatically lighting up that little wrench icon on your dashboard, you are forced to write down your odometer reading on a sticky note every single time you park.
Right, and then you take that sticky note into your house.
Put it in a file folder, yeah, and cross-reference it with your calendar. And if you forget the sticky note, you just guess.
Which is wild.
It is. Nobody would accept maintaining a consumer vehicle like that today, yet we are seeing it on factory floors with equipment worth, millions of dollars.
We are seeing it because manufacturing facilities historically developed with these deeply ingrained departmental silos.
Yeah.
Production and maintenance were entirely separate entities with essentially competing incentives.
Right, production just wants to go, go, go.
Yep. Exactly. Production wants the machines running constantly, and maintenance wants to stop them to perform checks because they operated separately. They tracked their data separately. But the true tragedy of this manual tracking system that the source points out is that the required data already exists.
Wait, it's already there.
It is not missing. In an enterprise resource planning system, specifically Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central, which this text focuses on, all of this vital information is already there. The runtime, the output counts, the machine cycles, all of that is intricately tied to the production orders that your team is posting every single day.
Oh, I see. Because the business literally cannot function without that data. Like, you have to track your production just to run the accounting side.
Exactly.
You have to know what you manufactured today in order to bill your clients. So the ERP system already knows, just mathematically, that the machine was running.
Precisely. The system knows exactly what the machine did today. The fundamental failure point detailed in our source isn't that equipment usage isn't happening, or even that it isn't being recorded in some fashion.
So what's the fatal flaw then?
The fatal flaw is that the usage of the equipment is tracked completely separately from the production activity that actually drives that usage. The production team tells the ERP system, hey, we just ran a massive job for 10 hours. But the maintenance schedule, sitting in a different software module, or as you said, literally on a clipboard hanging on a wall, has no idea that 10-hour job just occurred.
Wow, so they're just totally blind to each other.
Completely blind. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we start to see the real compounding financial cost of relying on human memory or calendar alerts in this disconnected environment. Our source introduces a vital concept here called drift.
Drift, okay.
Yeah, drift.
Yeah.
Preventive maintenance, the whole philosophy of fixing things before they catastrophically break, that only works if the trigger for that maintenance is highly accurate.
Drift. It is a really subtle term. It sounds, I don't know, gradual, almost harmless. But the source makes it clear that in manufacturing, drift is incredibly dangerous.
It really is.
It is essentially the gap between the paper plan and reality. And it's just slowly widening day by day.
It is the silent killer of factory efficiency.
Yeah.
I mean, drift happens when you rely on calendar guesses. You might say, okay, we will service this press every 30 days, but what if you ran triple shifts this month?
Oh, right.
Or what if the machine was idle for 2 weeks due to a supply chain delay? The calendar doesn't know any of that.
It just knows it's been 30 days.
Exactly. And the source breaks down the dual threat of this drift, leading to two equally terrible outcomes. The first outcome is that your maintenance is simply too early.
Which, ironically, probably doesn't sound bad to a manager at first glance, right?
Yeah.
You might think, great, we're ahead of schedule, the machine is in pristine condition. But the math on that has to be brutal.
It is incredibly wasteful.
Yeah.
In reality, too early means the equipment is serviced prematurely. You are pulling a machine offline and halting production when you absolutely don't need to.
And you're paying for all that downtime.
Yes. And you are throwing away perfectly good oil, you're swapping out expensive industrial filters that still have like 50% of their life left, and you're paying premium labor rates for unnecessary work. You are literally bleeding capital because the calendar dictated it was time, completely divorced from the machine's actual usage.
Yeah, that makes sense. But if guessing early means you are just, quietly wasting money, the flip side of drift has to be significantly worse. Because if the calendar is wrong in the other direction, you aren't just losing oil, you are risking the entire machine. That would be the too late scenario, right?
Yes, the too late scenario is where the real operational nightmares occur. This is where wear and tear accumulates entirely unnoticed. Maybe someone forgot to update the manual log, or a shift was just too busy to check the meter.
Which happens all the time in the real world.
All the time. Let's look at the stakes here. If you are in food packaging, maybe a worn-out conveyor belt snapping ruins a batch of cookies. It is annoying, but it's manageable.
Sure, it's just cookies.
Right. But if you are in aerospace parts manufacturing and a CNC machine's tolerance drifts because a spindle bearing wasn't replaced on time, you might scrap a $50,000 titanium block before anyone even notices the error.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a huge loss.
It is. And that inevitably leads to a catastrophic breakdown mid-run. You are paying for ruined materials, missed shipping deadlines, furious customers, and of course, expedited replacement parts.
It is a massive ripple effect, and it leads me to a really stark observation about how these facilities operate. It means that the pristine maintenance plan a manager meticulously built on a spreadsheet in the corporate office is, well, it's basically a work of fiction compared to the gritty reality of the production floor.
A total work of fiction.
But this leaves me with a critical question. If manual tracking is so deeply flawed and silos are the root cause, how do we force the production data and the maintenance schedule to actually talk to each other without just assigning another human being to do more administrative work? Like adding a DRED entry cloak for the clipboards doesn't actually solve the architecture problem.
No, absolutely not. Adding administrative bloat is exactly what operations want to avoid. The goal is structural integration, where the core work you are already doing automatically triggers the maintenance protocols without any extra human effort.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because the source material doesn't just diagnose this disconnect, it looks at how the industry is actively solving it. It points to a specific application called Maintenance Manager.
Right. developed by InsightWorks.
Yes, developed by InsightWorks as a primary case study for this integration within Business Central. And what is fascinating here isn't just the software itself, but the underlying methodology it uses. It essentially takes that sticky note off the dashboard and builds a neurological link between the machine's daily diary and its health chart.
That's a great way to put it.
It links the maintenance intervals directly to the production activity itself.
It is a structural fix to a structural problem. Let's break down the mechanics of how this automated bridge actually functions, because the underlying data architecture is really what makes it effective. When a planner is setting up a maintenance task in this system, they don't just pick an arbitrary date on a calendar.
They don't just say, do this on Tuesday.
No, they assign a specific interval type based on operational reality. The source specifically mentions 4 interval types. So that's runtime, output count, distance, or duration.
Okay, so instead of a vague directive like, check the industrial saw blade every month, the data allows you to say, check the saw blade exactly every 5,000 cuts.
Exactly. And the crucial detail from the source is how it hardwires this to the architecture of the ERP. For metrics like runtime and output count, the maintenance interval is tied directly to a capacity type and a capacity number in Business Central.
Wait, break that down for me. What does that mean in plain English?
Sure. To explain that architecture simply, capacity in an ERP isn't just a vague concept of volume. It is a highly specific ledger. Every single work center or machine center on your floor has a unique ID capacity number.
Okay.
So when you tie the maintenance rule to that ID, the system knows exactly which piece of iron we are talking about down to the serial number.
And this leads to the absolute mechanism of change in this entire deep dive. Because of that hardwired database connection, when your team posts a production order, a signal is sent.
Exactly.
Yeah, a direct signal.
They are posting that order anyway to track their daily work and clear their shift queue. But when they do, Business Central automatically routes that data through the system and updates the maintenance ledger in the background. It is entirely invisible to the machine operator.
Which is the beauty of it.
Yeah. If a job takes exactly 10 hours of runtime to complete, that specific capacity number moves exactly 10 hours closer to its next required service. If a high-speed press stamps out 5,000 units, the output count for that press updates the maintenance threshold instantly. The friction of data entry is entirely removed. The ERP system is finally leveraging the relational data it already possesses to perform a secondary, highly critical function without any extra human input. You are literally closing the loop between the action and the measurement of the action.
That is a much more logical architecture. I mean, think about the human benefit for the teams running these floors. No more assigning someone to walk an echoing factory with a clipboard at the end of a Friday shift. No more hoping a tired operator remembers to update a logbook by hand.
Right. The very act of doing the work updates the schedule for the work.
Exactly.
It is a massive step forward in data integrity. However, it does introduce a new, very real operational challenge.
Oh, what kind of challenge?
Well, knowing exactly when a machine needs maintenance is fantastic for the asset's health. But actually taking a machine offline for that maintenance fundamentally disrupts the production floor. If the system is automatically tracking this usage and suddenly declaring that a machine needs service today, how does it handle the resulting downtime without causing utter chaos for the production planners?
Ah, that is the big question. You fixed the data silo problem, but did you just inadvertently create a massive scheduling problem?
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is how the architecture of the solution anticipates this exact conflict. The source explains the workflow progression. Once an interval reaches the threshold you've set, say that 10,000th cycle we talked about at the beginning, the task immediately flags as due in the system.
Okay, so a red light starts blinking on the digital dashboard.
Basically, yeah. And from there, the maintenance managers have options. They can plan that specific task individually if they choose, or, more efficiently, they can use auto-scheduling. This allows them to review everything that is coming due within a specific date range, and the system automatically generates maintenance orders directly into the planning worksheet.
But wait, let me push back on this scenario for a second. What happens if a massive, high-priority production run is scheduled right when a machine automatically hits that 10,000 cycle threshold? If the system is automatically throwing these maintenance orders into the planning worksheet, does it force the machine offline and ruin the priority production schedule? Or do the maintenance guys and the production guys still have to sit in a room and argue over who gets the machine today?
That tension, production versus maintenance, that is the historic battle in every manufacturing plant. But the source material reveals a very clever, elegant architectural hack to solve this conflict. It solves it through a really simple definition within the database.
Okay, I'm listening.
In this integrated system, a maintenance order generated by the app IS, fundamentally a production order.
Oh, I see. It treats the act of maintenance exactly the same as the act of making a physical product.
Precisely. Because it is categorized mathematically as a production order, it automatically consumes capacity on that specific equipment's work center ledger. It claims the time, just like a manufacturing job would.
So, if the machine is scheduled for a 2-hour preventative oil change, the system essentially broadcasts the rest of the factory, hey, we are producing an oil change for 2 hours. Nobody else can use this capacity number.
Exactly. The time is booked on the ledger. And the source goes further to detail how this integrates with the broader planning ecosystem. It explicitly mentions advanced scheduling tools that read these capacity ledgers, specifically naming the Graphical Scheduler app, or MXAPS.
And MXAPS, that's Advanced Planning and Scheduling, right?
Correct, which is a complex algorithm that optimizes factory floor routing. Because the maintenance order consumes capacity just like a normal manufacturing job, these advanced scheduling algorithms already account for the downtime. They see the block of time is taken by the oil change production order, and they automatically route other physical production jobs around it.
Wow, that's seamless.
It requires absolutely no extra setup from the user or complex negotiations between department heads.
It is a completely closed loop. I mean, the production data feeds the maintenance schedule. The maintenance schedule reaches a threshold and creates an order, and that order feeds right back into the production schedule, so everyone in every algorithm knows the machine is busy. It completely eliminates the blind spots that used to exist between the silos.
It is a masterclass in systems thinking. You are removing the human element from mundane data collection and transferring human effort to data strategy. You are letting the relational database handle the constant tracking so the humans can focus on the complex scheduling and high-level decision-making.
So what does this all mean? If we take all these technical details, the architecture of capacity types, and the nuances of auto-scheduling, and boil it down for you, the listener, the source provides a remarkably clear, unforgiving diagnostic for your current operations. If your team is still opening up an Excel spreadsheet after every single production run just to try and manually calculate when the next service might be due, wait, sorry, not an ellipsis pause, just if you're doing that, your system is fundamentally broken. Your production data and your maintenance schedule are not communicating.
And that silence between the systems is costing operations money, time, and potentially the lifespan of their most critical, expensive assets.
Exactly. But the incredibly reassuring takeaway from this deep dive into the source material is that fixing this disconnect doesn't require ripping out your whole infrastructure. The methodology makes it clear. Bridging this gap doesn't require buying some massive, separate, third-party standalone software that needs its own servers, or hiring a team to do manual reconciliation every week.
No, not at all.
It just requires allowing the production data you're already generating within your ERP to feed your maintenance schedule directly. That is the entire philosophy behind apps like Maintenance Manager. So if you're on Business Central, the source advises talking to your partner about it, or even just visiting maintenancefordynamics.com to see how it works.
It really is a powerful shift in methodology. We've seen today how integrating production data automates machine maintenance, effectively giving the equipment a digital nervous system to signal when it needs service based on reality, not a calendar. But, raises an important question for you to consider as we wrap up today's analysis.
All right, leave us with something to think about.
If your machines can now automatically dictate their own downtime based on real-world wear and tear, how did that shift the role of the human maintenance worker from being a simple monitor of dials and clipboards to becoming a strategic planner? And beyond just the factory floor, what other paper plans in your business are quietly drifting away from reality right now?
That is a brilliant and honestly a slightly unsettling thought to leave on. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of modern maintenance. Keep asking those hard questions about the silos in your own systems, and we will catch you next time.